Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama,
Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, you can start reading. Hare Krishna.
May I go first, Mataji?
Yeah, sure.
Hare Krishna Mataji. The screen is visible, Mataji.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna everyone. The super soul within the body of a particular living entity, being a plenary portion of the Lord, is worshipable by the individual living entity. Great sages have therefore concluded that the process of meditation is designed so that the individual living entity may concentrate his attention on the lotus feet of the super soul form Vishnu. That is real samadhi. The living entity cannot be liberated from material entanglement by his own effort. He must therefore take to the devotional service of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord or the Super Soul within himself. Sridhar Swami, the great commentator on Srimad Bhagavatam, has composed a nice verse in this regard, the meaning of which is as follows: My dear Lord, I am eternally a part of you, but I have been entrapped by the material potencies, which are also an emanation from you. As the cause of all causes, you have entered my body as a super soul, and I have the prerogative of enjoying the supreme blissful life of knowledge along with you. Therefore, my dear Lord, please order me to render you loving service so that I can again be brought to my original position of transcendental bliss. Great personalities understand that a living entity entangled in this material world cannot be freed from by his own efforts. With firm faith and devotion, such great personalities engage themselves in rendering transcendental loving service to the Lord. That is the verdict of the personified Vedas. Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Revati Mataji, you can read to Para Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
If she's going to take time, you continue.
Lord, it is very difficult to achieve the perfect knowledge of the absolute truth. Your Lordship is so kind to the fallen souls that you appear in different incarnations and execute different activities. You appear even as a historical personality of this material world, and your pastimes are very nicely described in the Vedic literatures. Such pastimes are as attractive as the ocean of the transcendental bliss. People in general have a natural divas are glorified. But when they become attracted by the Vedic literature, which delineates your eternal pastimes, they actually dip into the ocean of transcendental bliss as a fatigued man feels refreshed by dripping into a reservoir of water. So the conditioned soul who is very much disgusted with the material activities becomes refreshed and forgets all the fatigue of material activities simply by dipping into the transcendental ocean of your pastimes, and eventually he merges into devotees therefore do not take to any means of self-realization except devotional service and constant engagement in the 9 different processes of devotional life, especially hearing and chanting. When hearing and chanting about your transcendental pastimes, your devotees do not care even for the transcendental bliss derived from liberation or from merging into the existence of the Supreme Such devotees are not interested even in so-called liberation, and they certainly have no interest in material activities for elevation to the heavenly planets for sense gratification. Pure devotions seek only the association of Paramahamsas or great liberated devotees so that they can continuously hear and chant about their glories. For this purpose, the pure devotees are prepared to sacrifice to comforts all life, even giving up the material comforts of family life and so-called society, friendship, and love. Those who have tasted the nectar of devotion by relishing the transcendental vibration by chanting your glories. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Do not care for any other spiritual bliss or for material comforts, which appear to the pure devotee as less important than the straw in the street. The personified Vedas continues, Dear Lord, when a person is able to purify his mind, senses, and intelligence by engaging himself in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness,
Yes, Mataji, continue. His mind becomes his friend.
his mind can even think of the Supreme Lord always. Your Lordship is eternally dear to the living entity. So when the mind is engaged in thought of you, one immediately feels the great satisfaction for which he has been hankering life after life. When one's mind is thus fixed on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one does not take to any kind of inferior worship or inferior process of self-realization by attempting to worship or a demigod or by taking to any other process of self-realization. The living entity becomes a victim of the cycle of birth and death, and no one can estimate how much the living entity is degraded by entering abdominal species of life such as cats and dogs. Hare Krishna Mataji, sorry. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Ayushi Mataji, you can continue.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji.
Next to Para Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Srinathama Das Thakur has sung that person who do not take to the devotional service of the Lord but are attracted to the process of philosophical speculation and putative activities bring the poisonous result of such action. Such person eat all kinds of obnoxious things such as meat and take pleasure in alcohol and other intoxicants, and after that they are forced to take birth in lower species of life. Materialistic persons can generally worship the transient material body and forget the welfare of the spirit soul within the body. Some take shelter of materialistic science to improve bodily comfort, and some take to the worship of demigod to be promoted to the heavenly planet. Their goal in life is to make the material body comfortable, but they forget the interest of the spirit soul. Such person are described in the Vedic literature as suicidal because attachment for the material body and its comfort forces the living entity to wander through the process of birth and death, perpetually and suffer the material pangs as a matter of course. The human form of life is a chance for one to understand his position. Therefore, the most intelligent person takes to devotional service just to engage his mind, senses, and body in the service of the Lord without deviation. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Now, not much to explain, these are more very simple, right? Straight. Yeah, go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji, you continue on Para Mataji. Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. The personified Vedas continue. Dear Lord, there are many mystic yogis who are very learned and deliberate in achieving the highest perfection of life. They engage themselves in the yogic process of controlling the life air within the body, concentrating the mind upon the form of Vishnu and controlling the senses very rigidly. They practice the yoga system, but even after much laborious austerity, penance, and regulation, they achieve the same destination as person inimical toward you. In other words, both the yogis and the great wise philosophical speculator ultimately attain the impersonal Brahman effulgence, which is automatically attained by the demons who are regular enemies of the Lord. Demons like Kamsa, Shishupala, Dantavakra attain the Brahman effulgence because they constantly meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead out of enmity. The real point is to concentrate the mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Women such as gopis were attached to Krishna, being captivated by his beauty, and their mental concentration on Krishna was provoked by lust. They wanted to be embraced by the arms of Krishna, which resemble the beautiful round shape of snake. Similarly, we, the Vedic, simply concentrate our mind on the lotus feet of your Lordship. Women like the gopis concentrate upon you under the dictation of lust. As we concentrate upon your lotus feet to go back home, back to Godhead, your enemies also concentrate upon you, thinking always of how to kill you. And yogis undertake great finances and austerities just to attain your. Hare Krishna Mataji, please scroll up.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Mataji. At austerities just to attain your impersonal effulgence. All these different persons, although concentrating their mind in different ways, achieve spiritual perfection according to their different perspective. Because you, O Lord, are equal to all your devotees. Thank you very much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. So what they are talking about is the love, right? So they are talking about various loves related to various people. But one thing which I want to tell is there are 5 rasas, right? Irrespective of whichever rasa one person is, they are completely happy, right? So this is the conversation which is going on. Yeah, please continue because these are very self.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Sridhar Swami has composed a nice verse in this regard. My dear Lord, to be engaged always in thinking of your lotus feet is very difficult. It is possible for great devotees who have already achieved love for you and are engaged in transcendental loving service. My dear Lord, I wish that my mind may also be fixed somehow or the other on your lotus feet, at least for some time. The attainment of spiritual perfection by different spiritualists is explained in the Bhagavad Gita, wherein the Lord says that He grants the perfection the devotee desires in proportion to the devotee's surrender unto Him. The impersonalists, yogis, and enemies of the Lord enter into the Lord's transcendental effulgence, but the personalities who follow in the footsteps of the inhabitants of Vrindavana or strictly follow the path of devotional service are elevated to the personal abode of Krishna, Goloka Vrindavana, or to the Vaikuntha planets. Both the impersonalists and the personalists enter the spiritual realm, the spiritual sky, but the impersonalists are given their place in the impersonal Brahman effulgence, whereas the personalities are given a position in the Vaikuntha planets or in the Vrindavana planet according to their desire to serve the Lord in different mellows. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So they are talking about what is the thing. So there are various feelings, right? Somebody who envied Krishna in Kurukshetra, uh, right? They, like, for example, we had not only Kamsa or Shishupal, but even in the war field, they were given Brahmajyoti, where they actually got merged. But somebody who were having a different rasa, for example, Bhishma had Virya Ras, so he was given that. Now, if you take Arjuna, he wanted to be his Saka all the time. So he was a permanent, all of them, obviously Bhishma is also an eternal servitor, but Arjuna was given a different role, right? He was given the role of a Saka. So that is the story. So each of them, whatever they desire, right? We have said that Antakale cha mameva smaran mukte kalebram. So whatever you're thinking at the final stage is what you will become.
Lakshmi Prasad Mataji is there, Mataji, or Kuhu Mataji is there? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. The
Kuhu
person,
Mataji,
the
you
personified.
read to Para Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji. The personified Vedas stated that person born after the creation of the material world cannot understand the extent of the supreme personality of Godhead by manipulating their material knowledge. Just as a person born in a particular family cannot understand the position of his great grandfather who lived before the birth of the recent generation, we are unable to understand the supreme personality of Godhead. Narayana or Krishna, who exist eternally in the superior world, in the spiritual world. In the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly said that the supreme person who lives internally in the spiritual kingdom of God, God Santa, Sanatana Dharma, Sanatana Dharma can be approached only by devotional service. As for the material creation, Brahma is the first created person. Before Brahma, there was no living creator within this material world. It was void and dark until Brahma was born on the lotus flower that sprouted from the abdomen of Garbhodok Sai Vishnu. Garbhodok Sai Vishnu is the expansion of Karandaka Sai Vishnu. Karandaka Sai Vishnu is an expansion of Sankarsana, and Sankarsana is an expansion of Balarama, who is an immediate expansion of Lord Krishna. After the creation of Brahma, the two kinds of demigod were born. Demigods like the demigods like the four brother Santana, Sandana, and Kumara, who are representatives of renunciation of the world, and demigods like Marichi and their discriminant who are meant to enjoy the name this material world. From these two kinds of demigods were gradually manifested all over all other living entities, including the human beings. Thus, all living creature within this material world, including Brahma, all the demigods and all the Rakshasa are to be considered modern. This means that they were all born recently. Therefore, just as a person born recently in a family cannot understand the situation of this distant forefather, no one within this material world can understand the position of the Supreme Lord in the spiritual world because the material world has only recently been created. Although they have a long duration of extents and extends all the manifestations of the material world, namely the time element on the living entities, and the Vedas and the gross and subtle material elements are created at some point. Thus any process manufactured within this created situation as a means for understanding the original source of creation is to be considered modern. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
So very clear. Thank you so much. So what they are telling is to understand Krishna. So we are part and parcels and we are separated from Krishna. But it takes time for us, right? Somebody can realize, just like a small child who's just born cannot understand distant relatives, doesn't even understand fathers. So it takes time for us also in bhakti. But Krishna, very clearly, what happens is the moment you become a devotee, Krishna automatically takes control of you. So that's a point which we have to remember. With this, we'll end. I think this is a very long chapter on and on. Vancha kalpatarabhyasya kripa sindhubhya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavijay
Koti Vaishnavendra Jai.
Namacharya.
Hare Krishna.